electric bikes really taking over the world? If you're new here, my name's Forrest. I'm a full-time bike shop manager and mechanic. Today we're going to be finding out the differences between a $500 to $2,000 e-bike and a $10,000 e-bike. With nearly 1 million e-bikes sold in the US in 2024, e-bike sales nearly doubling in Europe between 2019 and 2023, and nearly 90% of bikes sold through the shop that I personally work at being electric, it's clear electric bikes aren't going anywhere anytime soon. With more people than ever on bikes, major cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Paris are investing millions of dollars for bike lanes, with some cities vowing to become 100% bikeable by 2026. So if you want to switch out one of those motors, you got to pull the battery out of the frame. We pulled out the cranks, pulled the chainring off, pulled all the bash guard covers off the bottom. You're able to do this preferably with the bike in the stand. You're going to pull a couple of these bolts out of the frame. There's 3 or 4 on either side. You got to switch all the wiring and bushings over. It's really not too hard. And then we're going to put the motor back up in there and get it mounted. All right, we've got a couple bikes here in the shop, and I wanted to show you guys the difference between a very low-end entry-level e-bike around that $500 to $1,000 price point, and all the way up to an e-bike that is somewhere above the $10,000 price point. So check it out. If we come back this way, I've got a couple entry-level bikes. These are kind of Facebook Marketplace finds. This is the Aventon Pace 500, and what makes a bike like this a little bit less costly or more low-end, some people would say. For starters, it comes with a rear hub drive motor, which used to be known back when this bike was made, because this is the first generation, this used to be known as a little bit lower end of a system. They actually used a cadence sensor over what they now use being a torque sensor. The newer torque sensor makes the bike a lot smoother, and it makes the assistance kind of come on a little bit smoother as well. The cadence sensor gives the bike a lot more of a snappy feel, and a lot of people were complaining about that initially with the first generation of these models. It was trying to take out from underneath people when they would stop at stoplights and stuff like that. So they actually did upgrade these motors with the second generation and third generation Pace, which we have over here, with the new upgraded torque sensor motor, making them a much smoother assist level. But at this price point, this is still equipped with the original cadence sensor motor, therefore it warrants a lesser cost. Really everything on this bike, it really comes down to shifting components and cranks as well. A lot of the component level really isn't up to par with some of those bikes in the $5,000 to $10,000 range, but still way more than enough of a bike to commute around town and whatnot. It does come with a 7-speed freewheel, which also is a little bit lower end than some of your original cassettes that would come on higher end models. And this is still true with all of the Pace models and things from Aventon that they sell right now. As you can see, this bike does need some work. It needs a really good tune-up. They do come with decent tires, and they come with basic inner tubes as well. Definitely adding to a bike like this, adding Tannis Armor inserts or beefier inner tubes would be the way to go for sure. Another major factor to these bikes that makes them lower end cost is the brakes. These originally were a Zoom brake, and as you can see just from sitting in the shop, they're already ready to take a bleed. So if you were a customer or somebody at home that couldn't bleed a Zoom brake, you would need a $60 to $80 bleed kit in order to get these fixed. It does also have a basic level screen and a thumb throttle, which is very common on most electric bikes. I think that's about enough information on an entry-level bike. Let's go take a look at the next level up in that $900 to $1,500 range. I actually found one more bike here in the shop that I think would be a worthy opponent to take a look at to the Aventon. This is a Rad Rover. It's a fat tire model. It's a 26 by 4 inch tire. So it still comes with fairly entry-level shifting components. It's got Shimano Acera. It's a 7-speed freewheel, rear hub motor, just like the other bike. It comes with disc brakes, which most of them do around this price point. And as we know, it's always a good idea to at least have a disc brake on an electric bike. Really try to stay away from the rim brakes would be my advice. They're a cable actuated disc brake, which is, in my opinion, where we save a little bit more money than if you do go with a hydraulic brake. On a bike where you're getting more tire and more bike in general, doing cable actuated disc brakes could still keep that added cost down, so it's not too outrageous. Looks like they use a Tektro disc brake. I actually need to do some brake adjustments on these guys. That's what it's in here for. This, I believe, is a Class 2 e-bike, so it should hit 20 miles an hour with the throttle, or if you're pedaling, probably somewhere around 28. All right, with that said, let's go take a look at the next level up. So let's come over here and we'll take a look at some other models and different price points. So somewhere around the $1,700 price point, we start getting into bikes that are a little bit higher quality. You're still going to see that 7 or 8 speed freewheel. Sometimes it's more like 8 or 9 speeds at this price point. A little bit higher end derailleur. Obviously, this bike is brand new. You're still going to see more than likely a rear hub motor. Some of them even have dual motors, front and rear. The main factor, though, with a bike like this, when you start getting to this price point, is hydraulic disc brakes. So as you can see, they're still a Tektro brake, but they're a disc brake. And they're hydraulic, which essentially means you're going to be getting a lot more power. And in my opinion, these are a lot safer of a brake, and they just stop you so much better. With a bike like this, too, they include new GPS 4 technology, so you can track the bike even when you are not near the bike, which is good if somebody decides to ride away with it. Usually upgraded screens, too, and a little bit more creature comforts. As you can see, if we turn this bike on, if you take a look at the back of the bike, it does come with blinkers, which is a new added feature, and a lot of e-bikes come with that nowadays. They do also come with brake lights, so if you hit the brakes like that, as you can see, those actuate, which is an added feature. It's definitely a creature comfort, and it does also have a headlight. Aventon does also have another bike. So this bike from Aventon is probably the best bang for your buck that I've found so far. It follows suit pretty much with everything you get in the new Pace 4 model, but with a couple extra features and for not that much more money. For somewhere around $18.99, this bike does come with fenders and a rear rack. This is the Level 3 is the model name they call it. And what changes a little bit with this bike, for the money, really, I think it's worth it. You get a suspension fork. It is a spring fork, so it just has compression. But you also get the front fenders, front and rear fenders. You get a suspension seat post, which we did see on the other bike as well. You get a rear rack, and then you get pretty much all the same creature comforts, except for 2 extra things. You get an adjustable stem here on the headset, which is nice because a lot of people who ride these, they want to sit more upright on the seat. And you can loosen this bolt right here and fold the handlebars up, which is a good added feature that you do see on a lot of electric bikes. The last thing I see on this bike that makes a big difference is actually the brakes. So as you can see right here, they've added a Magura brake, which is a lot higher end brake than the entry-level Tektros that we saw on the other bike. Although both good companies, Magura is going to be a much stronger brake for especially on those wet days where you have to ride this bike to work, since this is their commuter model. Okay, I think that's about it for bikes under the $2,000 price point. Let's go take a look at some bikes that are more like $5 to $7 grand. Let's take a look at this bike. I think it's $100 more than the Adventure. Actually, it might even be the same price, but you get quite a bit for your money. So who exactly would be riding a bike like this? This is the Aventon Abound. It's a cargo bike. And the main feature behind this is you can carry a lot of weight. So basically, a lot of times what you'll see is people taking their kids to school on a bike like this. You have this big rear rack here. And with this bike, you kind of get a lot for your money. It is a 20-inch wheel, which some people aren't fans of because they can ride a little bit more rough, but at least it keeps your center of gravity down a little bit better than the big 26-inch wheels. You do still get a front suspension fork with a lockout, and the cool thing with this is just above that, it actually has foldable handlebars. So it's so long, if you want to put this bike in a car, you can open up right here and fold the handlebars down and slide it right in. It does also come with a lever-actuated seat post, which isn't something you see on too many other models. You can pull this lever right here, push the seat down, and come up to whatever level that you want. I already talked about it, but the rear rack, the weight limit on this is 145 pounds. So basically what that means is they actually sell a couple accessories where you can put your kids on the back. So you always see people riding, taking their kids to school with these with 1 or 2 small kids on the back. It's pretty cool to see. The accessory mounts they sell for this are pretty cool as well. They make a seat pad, and they actually make another one that has handheld bars, and it's the same one that'll fit with a lot of different companies as well. With that said, let me put this one back. We'll go take a look at some other models. more in the $5,000 to $10,000 range. It's even got a kickstand down here that's pretty industrial. Flips down with the push of a button like that. You can keep the rear wheel off the ground. Even helps if you want to work on the bike or adjust your shifting. You can pedal it without the wheel hitting the ground. Okay, so the kind of final boss bike we just pulled out of the bike corner back there. We actually have a Specialized Turbo Levo Comp Carbon. At face value, it looks like a normal mountain bike, but let me show you what actually makes it so valuable. So for starters, the entire bike is made from carbon fiber. So that's a very stiff material, also makes the bike a lot lighter than your average aluminum bike. You can actually buy this bike as well, the Levo Comp, in an aluminum frame and save a little bit more money. But having the carbon fiber frame, stiffer ride, a lot of people really like that. Let me show you a couple other creature comforts and better components that are on this bike that bring that value up so high. For starters, if we look right here in the front, we actually have a Fox 36 performance fork. This, I believe, is a 160 millimeter fork. And it is actually air compatible, which is a very big upgrade over a fork that has a spring inside of it. This fork, you can actually undo the air fitting right here, and with a shock pump, add enough air in there to accommodate your weight, so you can adjust it to your weight. It also has a high and low speed compression adjustment here on this side of the fork. To add to the fork, we also have now an added rear shock, which is making the bike full suspension. We also have a Fox Factory Float X2 here in the back, which is known to be one of Fox's most burly, high-performing shocks to add to the burly, high-performing bike. And the Fox X2 actually has an air fitting right here on the very bottom as well. You can adjust that guy to whatever weight pressure you have. This shock is actually pretty cool as well. It has a damper adjustment here on the bottom, so you can set this guy not to bob as much, at least while you're riding. If there's any on-road riding you have to do that's not fully off-road, where you're going to want that suspension. So the next major thing that you actually can't see when you look at this bike from face value, but definitely brings the cost up, is tubeless ready wheels. So front and rear, this bike is tubeless ready, which essentially means there's no inner tube inside of there. And the benefits of that, if you get a thorn in the tire or a tree root pokes the tire, you would be running a tire sealant, something like Orange Seal or Stan's, no tubes. And actually, if you were to pull the thorn out and spin the tire, the sealant is very effective at sealing the hole. And that's something that brings the cost up a lot, because you do need a special wheel to run tubeless ready tires and run that setup. The cool thing with Specialized is they actually do have an app, and this is something that's very popular throughout a lot of e-bike brands. A lot of times they will have a free app on iOS and Android where you can connect to the bike and manipulate all the settings. This bike will track everything from mileage to cadence. Couple things here in the back as well. This is a mid-drive motor, which all the bikes we've looked at so far have been a hub-driven system. Mid-drive meaning the motor's actually molded underneath the carbon here in the frame. There's a couple bolts holding it in. You do also have the battery that's hidden in this area right here. The mid-drive motor actually brings the center of gravity more upright over the bike, so when you're jumping and taking this guy off-road, it doesn't get too squirrely. Kind of the last two things I noticed when I look at a bike like this is the shifting components. This is actually SRAM's Eagle 12-speed drivetrain, but is not the lowest end Eagle 12-speed. It's actually XO1 shifting. Which, if we know anything about SRAM, XO1 is almost top-tier quality. I believe this is one tier below what the highest-end shifting components are offering. It does also have SRAM Code R brakes, which are known to be one of SRAM's highest-end, highest-performing brakes. SRAM has released a couple models that even outperform the Code Rs, like you guys saw on my other enduro bike that I was riding earlier. The last thing I really wanted to talk about the Levo and a lot of mountain bikes in general is that they come with a dropper seat post, and this is something that's very common on pretty much a lot of full suspension mountain bikes nowadays. What dropper seat post means, I think I explained this in my last video, lever actuated button here on the handlebar, and then when I press that lever, it's actually going to bring the seat up in that position. So if you notice, that seat rose like that. and it can stop at any given point throughout here depending on how high you actually want the seat. A lot of times with higher end bikes like this, they like to hide little Easter eggs throughout the bike, especially added storage. This is what we call a SWAT storage. So it's actually a hidden tool that hides in the headset of the bike. It's very common with a lot of mountain bikes and really not a specific e-bike thing, but I figured I would mention that as it is an added feature of this $10,000 electric bike. I wanted to thank you guys for hanging out in the shop with me this afternoon and checking out all these electric bikes priced from Facebook Marketplace at $500 all the way to this $10,000 e-bike standing right in front of me. If you guys could, subscribe to the channel, drop a like on this video, check out the playlist I have linked in the description. You can watch so many more videos just like this one, and we'll see you next time.